All right, welcome to Cleveland Heights City Council Committee of the Whole. It's September 15th at 6 p.m. Addie, would you please call the roll?
Kuda.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Larson. Here. Maddox.
Here.
Russell. Here. Posh.
Here.
Cobb.
I'll just step out for a minute, he'll be right back. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is go into executive session. And of course, the person that reads that. Well, we wanna add,
The big paragraph, right?
Yes.
yeah, we wanna add that to this one. So this will be a two-parter.
Okay, do I have a,
Yeah, give me a second, sorry. I didn't have it pulled up.
But you can read the one that's there and we'll go from.
okay, I move that we go into executive session for A, to consider the appointment of a public official, and B, to consider confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance as necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project.
All right, let the record show Councilman Cobb has joined us.
Second.
Sorry, you have a second? Good. Any discussion? All right, Addie, please call the roll.
Cobb.
Aye.
Kuda.
Aye.
Petrus.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Russell. Aye. Posh.
Aye.
All right. All right, we are out of executive session and we're gonna start going through legislative review. And we'll start with first readings for consideration for adoption today. This is ordinance 177, 2025, an ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 11, 2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures. So this is for the Planning and Development Department, 1.7 million, ARPA revenue replacement. Questions on this particular, yes, Councilwoman Larson.
To Director Harrison, on 177-2025, trying to understand why this is a budget adjustment. If it's money that which originated from ARPA, we have the money. Are we not just moving it from one account to another rather than having to, we're not taking any money from the unencumbered general fund 101, correct?
That's my understanding. If I might be able to shed some light on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what is coming out of the general fund for this is essentially money that went back into the general fund last year when there was that outlay of revenue replacement that was used to pay salaries and just salaries for a handful of departments throughout the city.
So there was leftover money then?
Well, no, what was
3.8 million. Does that ring a bell? So the 3.8 million that was used for payroll. That was paid out of ARPA. Right. Freed up general fund. I don't wanna say it's converted.
right, it was so it basically allowed for money, basically created a surplus in air quotes in the general fund so that ARPA money could then be used beyond the 2026, deadline for expenditures. So it was sort of at the beginning of 2024, money was laid out from the general fund to fund all these different things. Late 2024, the city said we can use ARPA funds to pay salaries. And so essentially what happened was that general fund money that was set out to pay those salaries was moved back into the general fund. What this is doing is pulling that money back out of the general fund to be put on these projects so that the expenditures can go down.
But it is increasing our budget by 1.7 million, and theoretically, it should have been budgeted, it should have been included in the budget for this year.
Yes.
So when in our finance committee meeting, using round numbers, when we have $105 million expense line per year and $100 million revenue line, we're increasing that $105 million by another $1.75 million. Is that correct? So it's coming out of our reserves.
Yes.
Okay, so what other things in ARPA or revenue replacement that was not budgeted that in hindsight probably should have?
I would assume it was that full $3.8 million that was used for payroll. I would assume that. I haven't looked at,
I'm almost sure that's the only thing we moved over in terms of legislation. I think we did that all in one big pot.
218-2024.
We'll get.
Without really seeing, without really seeing how this, so if it is, I mean, even if it's a 175, I mean, if it's 100,000, 200,000, I don't have an issue, but now we've had, a couple over $1 million budget adjustments, and now we have a possibility of a $3 million budget adjustment. I really need to see where we stand with our budget
But
before
we were gonna
can-
do this all along, it was just a matter of when, I mean, that's
Right.
fair to say. And I mean, I don't know if that makes you any more comfortable, maybe not, but this was gonna happen at some point. Because once we put it into the general fund, we knew we had a longer window. We just didn't know when we were gonna move the money. So, I mean, they're asking, the planning department's asking for it now because a lot of these programs are going gangbusters. I mean, I maybe should let you say this because I'm characterizing something that you could probably.
I think you're saying it correctly. Brian can characterize, we really are oversubscribed for the program.
oversubscribed is too strong a word, I'd say. We have a lot of projects waiting for this budget, so we can move forward.
I mean, we knew we were gonna do these projects. We just didn't wanna put, the reason why we didn't move the money in the first place right to the project was we didn't really know how they were gonna go. And if we had to, we needed the flexibility.
So-
And so we're doing it a bit piecemeal, I
So-
guess.
And I get that, but
Yeah.
when we approved our budget in March, and again, round numbers, we knew we were gonna, and people were gonna get upset if we use the word deficit. We were gonna overspend the amount of revenue that was coming in by $5 million, okay? That $5 million is getting close to 10 right now.
Right.
And without really seeing the budget and the 16% extra that we're paying the service workers and everything else, I mean, we've been sort of like agreeing to all these things without looking at the budget. And I know people are looking at their budgets. The departments have got to be watching that. I think we need to look at how our numbers are shaping up against the budget.
I don't disagree with you, but in March, we didn't know, we hadn't started the exterior repair program or the down payment assistance program. We knew we were going to do it and we knew we were going to fund it, but at what level and at what time, it was not known at that time. That doesn't diminish your concern, but it does explain what the intent was at the time.
I'm still struggling, Director Hairston, with if the money was going to be coming back,
It doesn't have
was
the
it
budget
included
on
in
it.
the encumbered column of the balance of 101? Or is it gonna come now from the unencumbered balance, reducing our reserves?
My assumption is that it's gonna come from the unencumbered balance.
Okay, thank you.
Do you wanna say something else? please?
Well-
Or no?
In the last finance committee meeting, we did talk about getting some estimates of where we are with the budgets. I think you called it a 6 and 6. I mean, I absolutely need to see that, and I need to see that as quickly as possible. I speak for one council person. I can't vote for this until I have some assurances that our budget is tracking, and if it's over tracking, exactly what it is. I mean, that's just a fiscally conservative position that I find myself in right now. I want to support this project, but I just need to see where the money is coming from. And I think council had these kinds of numbers in the last good financial statement that we got which was in the third quarter of last year. We haven't had those kinds of financial statements. And it doesn't have to be all that detail. I mean, what we received from the finance department, if it just had the budget information attached to that, that would be extremely helpful. But I really need to see this before I could vote for this. I would love to be able to put this on hold until the October 6th meeting until we have something like that.
Is that possible? I'm sorry, I should turn to you. Is that possible?
I just think about construction season, we may have to push some projects to 2026.
Knowing that we had already made the decision to do this, I feel uncomfortable and I definitely respect what he's saying. But knowing and understanding that we shifted this over for this, knowing that this was gonna happen, I'd rather move forward with this in terms of making sure this is done simply because of the time frame and the timeline. And because this is something that we know we did in 24 to set aside. And maybe it could have been done cleaner, but I think absolutely this is something we should definitely still take care of in terms of for timing, for sure.
I can live with that, I'm hoping that going forward, things are done a little differently, and cleaner is a good word. Thank you.
All right, got a lot to go through, so I'm not gonna rush anybody. 178, resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer.
This is an annual piece.
Annual piece, routine. But any questions? 179, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver subdivision participation and release forms to participate in nationwide settlement agreements with opioid manufacturers. We did this last year. And 180 is also an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver subdivision participation and release forms to participate in the direct settlement of claims concerning alleged misconduct related to opioids against Purdue Pharma LP and the Sackler family. Any questions about those two?
And those are both time sensitive. The deadline on the Purdue Sackler settlement to opt in to participate is September 30th. And the deadline on the Alvogen is October 8th.
All right, 181 is game time for the splash pad for Dennison Park. Hallelujah.
This is a $4,000 increase.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Just a quick question, and this is for, I guess, the planning or the entire team. I got this question from a nonprofit asking, with this happening, if there was, is there space to provide anything else if an outside organization was to donate any other additional equipment or anything else for that park around that area? Is that something?
So are you saying not for the splash pad, but something additional
Yep, in addition to that.
outside of?
Yeah, to add to that.
I want to make sure I understand the question.
Just curious.
Director Gonzalez, probably.
I think it is because the second phase was supposed to be able to put a toddler
That's what I thought too, and so
a
that.
toddler playground there, so as with the benches, so when the parents and kids are playing, that the parents have a bench and something for the toddlers.
Oh,
That was the
by the
second
splash
phase.
pad, because there's obviously a
Yeah.
playground.
Right, because there's a larger playground further up, but the little kids didn't have a playground, so the splash pad and then the little kids playground with some benches for the parents to be able to watch their kids, that was the second phase.
Maybe there'll be room after that toddler playground goes in.
Yeah. Thanks.
182 is a contract with the Ohio Flooring Company for sanding and refinishing the gym floor at the community center. All right, 183 is money for the Heights, for the 2025 Heights Halloween Fest and Candy Crawl. Was that 5,000? I don't have that right in front of me.
It is.
All right,
Wait, is it 4 or 5?
it's 5.
Oh, sorry, looking at the attendees.
187 is another budget adjustment for capital improvements for the planning and development department.
Mr. President.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I just wanna confirm that we're spending $76,000, but we're getting $76,000 in revenue from the grant, so it's a wash. Budget increases both the revenue and the expense side, thank you.
Now, 188 is an ordinance to amend certain subparagraph of N 11/2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city. This is for a shortfall. Wait, is this one for a shortfall in the, I don't even know who to ask. In the police budget?
This for the police. That's right.
I thought you said 188 was 187 too.
No,
I thought 188 was yeah, for the police. I think this is the entire, 188 is just for police department.
police department, yeah. Do you wanna explain?
We got a legislation for 188.
I don't have it.
Which one are you?
188, it's
We don't have any legislation.
We have 189, but we don't have 188.
Oh, Addie gave us, oh yeah, you're right. She didn't give us the legislation, we just got the numbers for it.
Yeah, we don't have.
I mean, at the same
She sent
time,
an amended packet out this afternoon.
got the same.
I don't know when that was.
It was
Mr.
late, like 5 o'clock.
While we're doing that, could I ask the chief a question?
Yeah, sure.
But we
This
don't have
is a
print
random
copy.
question just because I got tagged in this a bunch after South Euclid made a post about their newest vehicle, their pickup truck. And I was asking if we had anything, a couple of residents in South Euclid were asking what they utilize it for. And once the police department listed all of that, we started getting questions about how we utilize that and how officers move things like equipment or generators or things for your team. Do you have anything like that in terms of that makes it easier for the department? I got tagged in so many times, I said, I was gonna ask it since we were here talking about the budget now.
Yeah, we have a couple vehicles we use to move equipment, like if we need generators or safety equipment or road closure stuff, but yeah, we have.
So it's not a gap in anything that you need right now. Okay. They just kept tagging, so I said, I'll ask. Okay, thank you.
Could I ask the law department if 188 needs to be passed today, because we don't have it?
Which one is 188?
It's
Total budget increase of 271,465. Summary budget adjustments for revenue, City of Cleveland grant, Shaker Heights reimbursement, DEA task force revenue.
Okay, so that one has the grant?
Yeah.
Okay, so the grant, as I understand it, Lieutenant Corrigan can correct me if I get any of this wrong, but it is a DOJ grant that we're getting through the state of Ohio to offset some of the cost of 50 replacement body cams from Motorola. And then part of that budget adjustment is the increase of funds to cover the remaining portion of that contract. Because it's a 5-year contract with Motorola, the grant from the state of Ohio is only going to cover about 41,000 of that.
my
And
understanding.
then the rest, and then there should be another item coming up authorizing the entering of the agreement with Motorola.
And that's
Or-
189.
Yes, for the replacement body cam, the software to operate them, and then the storage capacity to save the video.
Right, so it's, I've just been informed, it's just another line item for 187. So it is.
No, it's the same legislation, it's like the same wording in the actual legislation itself. It's just the exhibit that's different.
Yeah,
So for
there's-
187, 188 and 87 and 88.
Not
One-
177.
177, 187, 188.
Yeah.
All the same words in the legislation, because they're all budget adjustments, but they have different exhibits.
But we don't have 188, Addie. We have it in our packet, so do we pass legislation just because we don't have it?
I did not print it because I just figured you guys have already seen the legislation because it's literally the same as 178. I
But
was
when
trying to
did
save
you
paper.
post it though?
Today,
Today at 5?
yes.
And this has to pass right away?
I'm not sure about the urgency, but I know it's been pending.
It's been pending for several months, and if the grant does state that equipment must be bought
in October. So it has now become a time sensitive issue.
That's
I requested this a few months ago and there was a lot of stuff going on, so it sort of got pushed. But again, this is gonna be money that is gonna be reimbursed. So the 41,000 that you're gonna be outlaying tonight is gonna be reimbursed. As soon as we buy these, I'll put the reimbursement in request and we'll get reimbursed for that 41,000.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
And then that's what I was gonna say, just based on what he stated, it was clear that we needed to make that purchase in order for that portion to go through. So I knew it had to be time sensitive, and I was wondering if there was anything other than that. Is that the only grant right now? Cause I was thinking that the same way as we're getting close to the year. Is there anything else we need to move that way?
This is the only one
Okay,
that I'm in control of that we accepted. With the mayor's permission, we accepted this several months ago.
thank you. I figured you had to do your portion first in order to kick in what we needed to do on the other side though, so, okay.
Go ahead.
So it's a $241,000 budget adjustment. Can someone explain the difference between the 271 and the 41,000 grant?
I can explain it if you want, sir.
Yeah.
So some of this is some budget adjustments that we requested when the temporary budget was finalized and then the full budget came in. We've been requesting some of this sundry movement to be done for some time. If you look at the general fund stuff, that is all salary based stuff. Where I saw some stuff that needed to be cleaned up. So the academy budget, this should be separate from our budget. And so we put 2 employees that should have been included in that budget into that proper spot. It's a net zero for the budget because we already have those positions budgeted for. All we're doing is cleaning it up so we can give good numbers at the end of the year and say, this is what the academy budget is, including everything that's supposed to be in there because we removed those positions during COVID because the academy is closed down. So we need to get that budget all in one, so when you look at the numbers, you could say, okay, this is good numbers for the academy budget versus the general budget for the police academy, for the regular police department. The first one, you can see that the kennel increased for 25,000. We signed a contract, and when we budgeted for this in 2025, the contract was not finalized yet. When we finalized the contract, it went up tremendously. So we'll be at a $25,000 deficit with regards to that budget to continue that on. And then if you keep looking down, you see all the police administration, some of these are contractual. So the longevity pay was never considered in the finalized budget for 25. So I thought it'd be prudent to show those real numbers in the budget when we're coming for the new budget season. You can see that all that stuff was put in there properly and you'll get some real numbers. So the salaries, the longevity pay, the commander's pay, Commander Lasker was given a promotion. So that's a $12,000 swing. We had to show that. It was already budgeted for, but we needed to move it into the police academy budget where it should be, because he technically is under that budget. Some of the non-capital equipment, that was money that we got from Shaker Heights because we did some of the training for the call program. Those social workers needed to be trained in self-defense. So we put that on instead of having to charge them or them having to go outsource that. We did it at the police academy. And in return for that, they gave us $1,700 to reimburse for some equipment that we would use in that training. So again, that's a net zero. That's money that came in. We spent that $1,700 on equipment that was needed for the training. Then if you keep going on, we got a reimbursement check from the state of Ohio for some training. 42,000 of that was accounted for in the 25 budget. We far exceeded that because we did extra training that we got money for the state from. So there's a surplus in those funds. So instead of asking council for money out of the general fund, we are gonna purchase some items with that money that we got. So again, that's a net zero out of the general fund. Going down on this computer hardware, that's another thing. We got another check for $85,000 from the state of Ohio on additional stuff that we applied for. we're gonna find out that our tablets and our cruisers are gonna become obsolete with the Windows update. So we're not gonna be able to do our security patches through the state of Ohio. Those tablets in the cars are not gonna be able to work. So instead of asking for money on a capital project next year, we decided, well, let's utilize these funds because it is considered part of training. We can train the guys on the new tablets, and that's a net zero out of the fund. We're gonna take that money and we're gonna put it towards those tablets. The only ask out of the general fund is for price increases on upfitting of vehicles that we've been asking for months and months. You guys keep saying, isn't that already done? Isn't that already done? It wasn't. We had to buy radios for the cruisers that are now sitting, waiting to go into service because we didn't get radios for them. So we're asking for that. The price has gone way up after all the tariff craziness. So that is the ask for that 40,000. That is gonna come from the unencumbered general fund. Now, the 41 grand that we're asking for, that's gonna be a net zero also, because that's gonna be reimbursed.
I didn't mean to cut you. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just, a couple of things I wanted the public and council, number one, thank you, because it's clear that a lot of this is happening because you're heading into third quarter of the year and it's bubbling up some of the estimates versus some of the impact. And I think what we're seeing here, at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I don't know how many conversations you've had with other departments, but this is probably something we're gonna see as we're marching into the last quarter of the year anyway, a lot more of these adjustments just based on how we went about the budget and some of the things that have changed. And I suspect, just based on what I've seen in other municipalities, that impacts of equipment costs, tariffs and things like that are also gonna impact that as orders have gone through and back orders. So I think what we're experiencing here and what we're seeing, I wanna thank you for doing this. I think it's something that we're gonna see in multiple departments as they start to take a look at this and close out the year. So I don't think this will be unusual. So I'm partly saying that just for the public to kind of understand that what they're doing is essentially cleaning up based on what they're estimating, and now they're looking at those very real numbers and making adjustments on that. So I don't want the public to think that the police department or anything is kind of overlooking anything. This is just part of that process as we're closing out the end of the year. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing with that, but I suspect, I'm wondering what other departments will have to make these adjustments just based on the process this year and some of the cost overruns. And so I just wanted to just tell you thank you, and I definitely understand and recognize that.
Thank you for your work on this. It makes a lot of sense. We have things that need to be done, so I support this legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So it looks like the only budget increase is approximately 8,000 and 40,000. It's not the 271,000. 73,000?
Well, the 8,000 is actually
It's from Fund 213.
is from Fund 13, which supports itself. So we do fingerprinting for all the nurses in areas around here. We take that money in and then we actually make money on that. So there's a separate account for that. All we're doing is saying, hey, please take some money from that account because we're gonna be a little short. Because after COVID, now everyone's coming back to get their fingerprints done here. So we didn't anticipate as many people coming back and getting their fingerprints done here, which is a great service for Cleveland Heights and the neighboring hospitals and teachers. They can come here locally instead of having to go to a police station or sheriff's department. And you get a lot of people that come in and do that service. So we just need to fund that a little bit more from our own bank account. There's already money in there. So it's not coming from the general unencumbered fund.
So this is really great and I really appreciate getting it. I'd like to talk in our finance committee meeting about how to adjust this, the ask and the reporting, but this is something that we just got today. It's not as massive as it appears. And you obviously are doing good work and make sure we got radios and cars that are sitting there. It's like, this should have happened a long, long time ago. So thank you for this. Yeah.
189 is for body worn cameras, program for the Public Safety's Office of Criminal Justice. Anything on that? Yes.
Does the agenda need to be amended or not when we go into council chambers?
Yeah, I would do it, yeah. 188 and 189.
Can you put just a short description after each one, please?
Thank you. And now, There's one item for first reading only. This is resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Tioga County for funding through the home program, affordable housing programs through the rest of this year. Want to say anything about the whole program?
Sure, we're part of a consortium of 4 suburbs and the urban county, so everything except for City of Cleveland, East Cleveland. Anthonyville, I think, or something like that. We get an annual allocation every year. This is just like going to contract with those funds to the county, because the county's the umbrella organization.
All right,
Question.
so we got, oh yeah, go ahead.
It says on page 2 of the scope of services that the services to be performed are to commence May 1st, 2025, and shall be undertaken and completed in each such sequence as to assure their expeditious completion. In accordance with this agreement, all services required herein shall be completed by no later than December 31, 2025. So does that fit your timeline?
So some of the projects do, and some other will just have encumbered by December
Okay.
31st, and it'll sort of carry over to the next.
All right,
Because we'll be coming back in January for 2026.
thank you.
They're trying to reset their program year with the calendar year, so it's not middle of the year like it's always been.
Thank you.
All right, so we have 185 on the consent agenda, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and 186 is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Heading back to the committee of the whole agenda, we have a lot left and not enough time to do it. Here's my suggestion. We need to make sure that we talk about the charter amendment, Q&A, and I got a couple other things. Is everybody willing to come back after the meeting and talk about item number 4, discussion of ARPA funded small business assistance program? Because I don't want to give that short shrift now, but yeah,
Would that require staff to stay through the end of the council meeting?
this would be you're leading that discussion, right?
What discussion?
Item number 4.
This is for the Small Business Association program. This is not the Merchants Association. I think is this for the applications for the small businesses? I didn't put this on here, so.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were switched, cause I'd heard we were talking about the merchants, but then I saw that and I was wondering if that,
Cause it's 2 different.
yeah.
Although when we spoke on Thursday at the committee meeting, we did mention if we're using ARPA, that's the pot it would be coming out of, business assistance, which is
So
the general fund.
okay, so now I'm with you because the way it's reading is saying Small Business Assistance
I was
Program.
confused too.
So I thought it was the $1 million that you all were preparing applications for the businesses to draw from for assistance. I didn't know it was the
It's
Merchants
confused
Association.
because that money is inside of.
So there
this.
was,
Right, so that's why
Right.
it
Community
didn't,
investment.
They get
right.
lost in translation.
Councilman
Right.
Scott probably has it up on the screen. There's 1.4 million, was it 1.4 million, Brian? That was set aside for the community investment fund, I think we called it.
Yes.
200,000 was used for planning studies, 300,000 was used for UBIZ, now there's 900. And that's, I think, what we're talking about.
No, I'm clear now,
Oh,
but what
okay.
I'm saying, the way it's titled here,
We understand.
Merchants
Oh,
Association
yeah.
versus Business Assistance Program, in my mind, that's 2 different things. Because $1 million was allocated for all businesses that you all were doing an application for, so businesses can draw down money to help them. Then there's funds for the Merchants Association that we were talking about in the Planning Development Committee. So that's
yeah.
where I was confused of the way it was
I was
reading.
talking about
But
the
it's the
same,
same pot of money.
the same.
No, I wasn't talking about money, I'm talking about the way it's listed when he says this is
Yeah,
for
right.
you to talk
Terminology.
about,
Yeah,
yes, for you
I
to talk
understand.
about it, yes.
So
So-
why don't we put this on for the next meeting? And then we'll, we'll go through it.
Well, I would
With
hate to do that or I would love to come back because you have merchants here, I believe, who are here who want to.
That was my concern, is that I know that they came in and so they would have to stay to
Yes.
wait until we came back. And so that was, I was concerned about that too. But I didn't know if this was something that we could discuss under new business or old business
Yes,
as
we
part of the
could.
council meeting, if that
Yeah,
would help
we could.
out there, but I don't know if
It
it
would
makes a
help
difference.
because
We
that
can do
way
that
we
out,
could
we
get
can
out
do
there.
that in the
Yes, and
committee
also
meeting.
there's quite a few of the merchants out there that are doing public comments, just so you know, so.
So
So we can do it
does
in-
that work?
We can discuss it under new
Okay.
business there. I also wanted to bring up something too about as we transition from you being the new mayor intern.
That's on other, I have that's scheduled already, and I have the law director talking about that. So we're doing that right in
Okay,
a
but I
couple
wanted to
minutes.
ask a question. During that time versus hiring and firing employees, I wanted to know where's the council at far as not keep retaining all of the staff until the end of the year, only because this is what I'm
I
saying.
know, I just wanted to
Because,
get to the charter amendment thing and then
Okay.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Just-
all right,
just
no,
give-
okay,
in 2-3 minutes.
All right.
Okay, because the first thing I want the law director to explain how this works, and then we can get to your question. So charter amendment Q&A forum dates, we have October 7th. So doodle poll was sent out, some people didn't answer, that's what happens, but we do have 4 for October 7th. We can do that at Noble Library.
It'll be 6:30 to 8-ish, somewhere.
Yeah,
What day is that? 7th?
Tuesday the
That's a
7th.
Tuesday.
now that's not the only one, or at least as far as I'm concerned, that's not the only one we wanna do. That's the only one where we have a quorum.
Who makes up the quorum that night?
Craig,
do.
I'm available.
Davida, Josh, and Tony.
I'm also available.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and what were the other dates that maybe we could get a quorum by just bringing it up here?
October 2nd, 6:30 to 8. We would need at least one more person. And
You have me already on that.
yes, and Thursday, October, nope, never mind. Nope, that's the only one.
What was the other day? I'm sorry.
October 2nd, 6:30 to 8.
That works for me too.
October,
2nd.
that's Yom Kippur.
Oh, you know what I just thought of?
Well, if it's after
I'm
sundown,
young council, and
Oh, you're right. You're
so
not
I don't
right.
count.
You don't count.
I just,
You'll need 4 council.
wow. Yeah,
I'll be the 4 anyway.
that's a holiday for the Jewish community.
So the 7th,
that's the problem.
we would have 4 because
Yeah.
Jim Petrus could make it.
And that's at Noble Library, right?
Yes, I still have to book it,
I
but
already
yes.
responded to that.
so we just wanted to make sure we, you know, have the room.
My name down for the 7th as well,
Okay.
Eddie.
Was there 4 dates I heard?
I think she said
There were some
4.
other ones, but there's no way we're gonna get, I mean, there's like one person, 2 people that could do it or one person. I mean, there's September 22nd. I got a no from Davida, no from you, Posh, Tony doesn't count anymore.
No, I
Randy
count for that.
Oh, September 22nd, you do, yeah,
I said no because it's a Jewish holiday.
Mhm.
It's
okay.
wrapping up a Jewish holiday and I'm just not
Okay.
sure
Yeah,
not
'cause
sure
it's-
we really wanna do that,
We don't
but-
wanna do that.
Okay, then October 7th, October 9th. I'm gonna do one after this. I was just trying to get the first one in ASAP.
Well, you got October 7th.
So I will send out an additional doodle poll for an additional date after the October 9th week.
All right, and then, you know, you have to figure out a format and all that.
6
Yeah.
o'clock.
6:30.
So, we are gonna need to have a special meeting on October 1st. I'd just like the law director to talk us through the process of what's gonna happen logistically with myself being, I guess technically removed from council and then becoming the mayor on October 1st and the other steps that are in that.
Had this up on the larger screen so that it'd be easier to see and it's gone. But essentially, Mr. President, under the charter, Article 4, Section 11, which is the recall provision, says that When the recall is approved by the voters, the mayor is deemed removed from office upon the certification of the official canvass of that election to the council, which we have been informed will occur on October 1st. And I think, and I will confirm this as I previously had mentioned to some of you, I think that's gonna happen mid-morning. So council will want a special meeting that day. You can fix the time essentially once we get some more clarity on the time of day when that's expected to occur. But as of the moment of that delivery of certification of the official canvass to the council clerk, the mayor is removed by operation of law under the charter, and the president of council, and then council needs to declare a vacancy in the event of a removal of the mayor. And so council will need a meeting to take action to declare a vacancy. And at that point in time, the council president becomes the mayor unless the council president is unable to do so. And so I think that the easiest way to pull all that together is gonna be to have a piece of legislation that lays out, just a brief history and acknowledges the current status, declares the vacancy, indicates that the council president is not unable to assume the office of mayor, and then confirms that the council president then becomes mayor. At that point then, so that's the piece of legislation you would adopt on October 1st to accomplish all of those things with one document. And after that, you will have a vacancy in the office of council president, and you'll have a vacancy on council. You'll have only 6 members. So with regard to the first issue, the charter says that council is to immediately or forthwith determine to elect another member as council president. So there's no specific timetable that applies with the language utilized, but I think you would probably want to look at that. Stop looking at you. You will want to look at that on October 1st or at your next meeting on October 6th.
I was wondering about that too, because I saw there's 2 separate sections, and I guess for clarification, so in our example, we wouldn't be filling the vice presidency, so Vice President Russell wouldn't become president, we'd be filling that, we'd have to start all over with leadership in that, at that meeting?
Well, the vice president is not removed by virtue of the president stepping into the role of mayor. So it's just, and it's not an automatic succession either. So it's just a vacancy in the office of the president, and the council needs to determine who's going to be the president of council.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did we change that? Was that changed in the new charter?
I don't think so.
Because that came from the
When you
old.
say new charter, you're talking about the proposed
The
first amended
proposed charter. So because that language was there from the,
2019 amendments.
right, from the city manager form of government. No?
It might have been.
Yeah.
It was certainly there with issue 26 and adopted in
Yes.
2019.
Okay.
That's in the current charter.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah.
Well, and so that's the vacancy in the office of the council president, and then the other vacancy that you'll have is a vacancy on the council. Under Article 3, Section 4, you've got 45 days to fill that vacancy. So if that were done sort of on the 45th day, it means that you have until about November 15th. And so that's something that council is obligated to do within that period of time. And if they don't, then the mayor makes that appointment. But if it were to happen on November 15th, you're looking at appointing a council person who would be a member of the council for about 6 weeks, because it extends just until the end of the term of the person who left office.
I would like to, based on the information Director Hannah's given us tonight, open up the applications starting on October 1st, that Addie would be able to receive applications for this vacancy in council starting October 1st. And then because of the short time frame for not just the application process, but also for this term, I would like to see that the applications close on October 7th. So I'm proposing that and see if that makes sense to everybody.
So that's a Wednesday through the next Tuesday.
Is that a solid week?
Almost. 7 full days.
7 full days? Okay.
You know, I know that I'm not actually part of that, but it seems like the week would be okay if people were informed ahead of time, and I know that's what you're trying to do, but it would be nice to put maybe something in the newsletter,
Yes.
just letting people know that October 1st, so they're not hearing about it for the first time on October 1st, which I know is the purpose of you bringing it up now.
So Eddie, can
So-
you check on that for me, please? Thank you.
All right, any questions for Director Hannah? All right,
I'll update the council clerk when I talk with the Board of Elections about timing for October 1st.
all right, so we can adjourn this
Just one thing.
meeting. Yeah.
I still wanted to ask council members. So during the new term, interim term of mayor, would you all, I would like to have a discussion around keeping the existing staff, no hiring or firing, because you're going into the holiday season. And I just would hate to see anyone not have an opportunity to keep their job through the December 31st. So I just wanted to bring that open discussion and see if anybody thought about that.
Is that our call or the interim mayor's call?
No, I think we could do that. We did it with the mayor.
Uh,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I may be misunderstanding, so I'll just speak in the affirmative. The charter gives the mayor the executive authority to hire and fire employees, other than council employees. And council does not have the authority by ordinance to override that. I know there was some legislation adopted earlier in the year that sort of tried to address that.
Correct.
But
That council.
But it was a
grew up.
I
resolution.
think that authority, right, and I think the authority would really continue to reside with the mayor.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, since it was such a temporary seat.
Right.
That I just didn't wanna see anybody.
I think that's a perfectly legitimate argument to make about why, major things maybe would be avoided.
Yeah, only because it's, I mean, you think about it, we're talking about October, now we're getting into Thanksgiving, then you're getting into Christmas. And I just would hate to see anybody just terminated and holiday is coming up, that's all. I mean, we need to be respectful to who we like and who we don't like. But when it comes to employment, we have to think of people having families and different things like that. So I just wanted to bring that forward, that's all.
Well, I would certainly duly note that.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna adjourn this meeting at 7:59 and head over to the regular meeting.